Good morning. Sorry, I'm making all of these videos. Probably only going to be posting one a day, but churning them out. Obviously, I've got a lot to cover in lots and lots of short videos. But one thing I forgot to mention was choosing an army. How do you go about choosing your army? There's two or three methods that I can see. First of all, you go with the army that you like the look of, and then you learn to live with it. One young lady that I'm watching videos for at the moment, she's chosen wood elves. From what I can gather, she went into the shop, she looked at different armies, and she liked the look of the wood elves. Brilliant. She's obviously very happy with wood elves. Personally, I don't think it's a bad choice myself. Excuse me. The second method, which I suppose I'm kind of using myself, is you buy a starter set and you pick one of those two armies because you've got a small army that came with it, which is primarily why I'm a high elf player. Island of Blood, it comes with high elves, it comes with Skaven. Why did I not choose Skaven? I don't really like them. I just don't like the look of them. When I first played Warhammer, I forget the edition numbers, it might have been 5 or 6. You had Bretonnians and you had Lizardmen. I didn't like Lizardmen, so I tried to play with Bretonnians. I tried to paint them. I really couldn't paint them. I just wasn't a very good painter. I went back to the shop and I said, I really can't paint these. They're really horrible to paint. Which then brings me to my third method of picking an army. The store manager, he said to me, well, why don't you pick an army that you can paint easily? Which is primarily why I became a Chaos player. They're a lot easier to paint. Plus I had trouble with magic, and not really using much ballistics at the time. They didn't really have any ballistic skills at all. So the game plan was very simple. You set your army up, you get in combat with your enemy as quickly as you can. You'll take 1, maybe 2 turns of ballistic fire against your army. Once you're in base-to-base combat with your enemy, you know that you stand a better than average chance of winning, just as long as you don't lose too much getting into combat. I found it a fun way to play. It suited my game style, it suited my style of painting, and it meant I didn't have to learn ballistic skills, I didn't have to learn magic, and I could focus on the I could just focus on painting. So the fourth method, fifth method, fourth, is requires some skill, and that is to look at every single army, look at the stats for each of the for each of the units, look at what they can do, and choose something that is good. I don't know much about Warhammer Fantasy Battle 8th edition in the same way that I knew 5th edition. But one thing I do understand is that different armies are different in various ways. Orcs and goblins seem to be random. They're fairly average. If your dice rolling is good on the day, you could win tournaments. If it's bad on the day, then you're just not going to do very well at all. but from what I can gather, orcs and goblins is just going out and having a good old laugh. You've got some that are just big, powerful hitters. They take up an awful lot of points, so as a result, you don't get many figures on the table. You've got other armies. I haven't really looked at undead, but in the older version, if you had undead, you used to have hundreds of figures on the board. You had skeletons that were just really weak, but they were like 2, 3, 4 points. And if you got big, massive units of skeletons, you just loads of them, and you had your magic users could just summon more of them, and hordes and hordes of them. So yeah, that's your basic armies. I'm not going to go into the actual armies because I don't know much about them. This can come later. A £30 an army book. I'm afraid I'm not going to review all of the armies in a week. But I'll just tell you a quickly thing about my army. As I'm making this video, I describe myself as 75% painter, 25% player. And when I bought the box set a month ago, I described myself as 100% painter, 0% player. So, and yet I bought the army book. I don't know why I bought it. I obviously I want pictures and things to use as references, but High Elf sell a heraldry book which has got a lot more pictures in it. Would have been far more useful. However, I got on with the army. I looked at things. I think I can play with High Elves. You've got lots of. Let me just grab the book and then we'll quickly go through it. One thing I'll say about me, special characters. I don't like special characters. Woo, shock horror. The reason I don't like special characters is because I believe every army should have a story behind it. What I would eventually like to do is, rather than have my army led by a lord or a prince or whatever, is I'd actually like my general to be a female character. What that probably means is buying something like Alarael the Radiant, modifying her a little bit so that she's my general. Maybe I can do some conversions so she can ride a griffin or a phoenix or something. And that's going to be my story. Tyrion, Teclis, yeah, they've got fantastic stories behind them and they're already made characters. But as far as I'm concerned, all they are figures for you to buy to modify how you want your lords to be. So in the lord section of the book, I'm only looking at 4 people. You've got a prince, you've got an archmage, which can be level 3 or level 4. You've got the anointed of Asayan, the lawmaster of Hoeth, and obviously you've got various mounts. Similar story with the heroes. You've got 2 characters, which as far as I'm concerned are out the window. You've got nobles, you've got a mage, which can be level 1 or level 2, dragon mage, Lothern Sea Helm, or the handmaiden of the Everqueen. My handmaiden of the Everqueen, again, I'm probably going to buy that figure, do some modifications to it, and she can be my standard bearer. Then you've got core units. And one thing that strikes me straight away is that you've got fantastic bonus for spearmen. I believe, I might be wrong, spearmen or even high elves, they fight in extra ranks. So spearmen, you've got that extra rank. I see them as defensive troops. Other people see them as very offensive. So maybe what I'm saying there is that they're a good balance of both. Archers, you've got obviously they can fight in combat, but they've got their bows. Loathe and Seaguard, they seem to be a little bit of both. They wear a bow. They use a bow. Silver Helms, good cavalry troops. Ellery Reavers, good troops. Lion Chariot of Charos and the White Lions. Sword Masters of Hoeth. Shadow Warriors, all strong foot troops. You've got Dragon Princes. And of course you've got your monsters are good. You've got your chariots. You've got two types of chariot. You've got eagles. You've got phoenix. You've got frostheart. Phoenix is actually, that's why I call myself Lady Phoenix. I've always been into phoenixes. It wasn't so much that I chose high elves because they had phoenix in the army. The phoenix stopped me from going back to chaos. When over last month I was like, yeah, I think I might go back to chaos. Obviously I knew about the new releases that were coming out. I'd heard rumours that a Bloodthirster was coming out. I'd seen the Forge World Bloodthirster, very expensive but absolutely beautiful. And just for old time's sake, I bought this off eBay, or sort for tenner, just couldn't resist. I will always have a soft spot for the Chaos, because I used to play Chaos. I just wish I'm not a good painter now, but I think I'm a lot better than I used to be, just because of techniques, not because of skill. And I wish I was half a painter now back then. Does that make sense? I wish I was back then. I wish I was half as good as I am now. Okay, right, we'll leave it at that. So I see the High Elves as a good army. They've got good hand-to-hand combat. They've got some good leaders. They've got some good monsters. And one rule that I like is that every unit, just about every unit, all units always strike first. Good leaderships, which means I'm probably going to pass more break tests than I fail. Now I'm getting into complex rules, which you're probably going to go, huh, what? So I'll leave that for another day. But yeah, like everything in this hobby, it's all down to personal opinion. That is my choice for me personally. If you choose another army, I'm not going to say that you are wrong. Saying that, I've kind of wondering whether to do an Orc and Goblin army. They've got some good war machines, and they've got lots of interesting characters, but that's another conversation for another day. So choose your army based on what you want to do. You can either go for something you like or you think is pretty. Secondly, you can go for an army that you're stuck with. Depends on your finances. My finances are quite low, so the fact that I'm going with High Elves and I've bought the box set, I've got half my army already. I think there's 1,000-point army in the book. What helps as well is on one of the forums, somebody who had loads of stuff to give away and he wanted some Sisters of Avalon. I made contact with him. I said, well, how many Sisters of Avalon do you want? And he said, a box will be fine. So I said, look, I don't actually have a box. I said, but what I'm willing to do is buy a box. I'll send you the box. And he says, brilliant. So I'm getting some archers, some spearmen. I'm getting the High Elf Battalion set minus the chariot. Oh, Silver Helms I'm getting. He's going to throw in another Griffin on with a Prince on, free of charge, and some Sea Guard. All for the cost of a box of Sisters, which means that with magic items, that is my army list. As it stands right now, I can enter a 2,400 point tournament with 53 points to spare. So maybe in 2 months' time, finances pending, I will have a video blog of my first tournament. I'll come back and I will tell you how much I got hammered by, what went wrong and what went wrong, because it's not going to go right. But that's going to be fun. It will give me an insight into the other armies. Obviously, I know a little bit about High Elf, so I'm hoping I don't get drawn against any High Elf armies. I can't remember if it's a 3-game or 6-game tournament. I'm sure it's a 3-game 1 day. If I can get 3 different opponents, then I will have an insight into 3 different armies. So I'll know which corner units hurt me the most, which heroes were useless, what they're good at, what they're bad at. Yeah, it should be useful. Right, so that's how to pick your army. Probably no more helpful after the video than before, other than saying go with what you're happy with. If you pick an army, you paint it, you're not happy with it anymore, then don't get rid of it, put it on a shelf, go and get another army, because one day you're going to come back to it. What do you do when you've collected everything? You've got 10 units of everything and you just fed up stuff, you don't know what to paint. Which is why I'm going to do my enemy of the month. There's enough figures out there that I can paint something wood elfy. Tree men, I quite like tree men. I like flying creatures. I've got Bloodthirster of Khorne I want to get. Oh, there's another new release for Chaos. I can't remember his name, but this guy's got lots of flails, lots of brass, lots of red, lots of black. I won't mind painting him for old time's sake. Doom Wheel. There's a goblin wheel thing. I want to do him one day. I've seen a figure. I can't remember what it is, and I don't even know if it's Warhammer. But I saw a figure online, and it's a massive elephant, and it's just got this thing on top, like a canopy. I think it's Lizard Men, and it's got lots and lots and lots of figures in it. But the detail on the elephant, being a dry brush fan, I can just see me taking this elephant and getting all the shades of grey. That one, and of course I can do non Warhammer armies. I might one day do an X-wing fighter. I might do Mantic Games, Dread Bowl. So much to do. And I'm probably going to throw in a few figures that aren't even Warhammer at all. I've got a couple of cracking aircraft that I've got not even started. I've got a couple of Formula 1 cars, Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton, when they were in the same team. I've started on it and the engine is boring the hell out of me because it's all shades of silver. And it's just boring because I have no interest in motor cars at all. But I was sitting in the garden the other day and I'm thinking, if I don't like the colour schemes, why don't I just invent my own? So you're going to see two unusually painted Formula 1 cars. Team Penny, this colour. Team Phoenix. Okay, so I've drifted off topic again. So, summary. Pick your army. Go with something you're happy with. If you're bored of it, paint something else. Have a word with somebody else. Maybe if someone's really nice, they'll lend you their army to play with. If you can get some friendly games going, what's to say that you can't proxy your figures? Proxy, a word I learned the other day. Proxy means replacing something for something else. Most tournaments you go to, proxies won't be allowed. But I'll give you an example of a proxy. This is a Skaven Warlord. For the purposes of a friendly game, there's no reason why I couldn't call that a Chaos Warrior, Chaos Champion, or Chaos Lord. And then obviously you play with him with the Chaos Lord stats. You have there we go. We've got a Chaos Knight. What else have we got? We've got some. There we go. These could be Chaos Marauders. See how the battle goes. If you enjoy it, start collecting. But the fact is, as long as you've got bases. In fact, actually, if your opponent is friendly enough, then in this box I've got a unit of Chaos. I don't know, Woodman Archers. There you go. Just use bases. So you're not locked in once you've made a choice. So 3 letters for you. FUN. Take care. Bye bye.